Do you hear that?
Help! I need loans! Help! I need loans! I'm drowning, I need loans! Please save my loan!
There are football manager saves out there that need saving. We were gonna save that until FM25, but that didn't work out so well. So here we are. The first save submission comes from that other car guy who's managing Südtirol. Hi, Z. Hi. I am managing Südtirol. We know. In Serie A, and have hit a roadblock. I am beginning to throw some upset results against the main 6 or so teams in the league. Lazio and Roma have been terrible for a couple of seasons, but I'm struggling to see how I can get up there consistently. I lost probably my best Wonderkid, Andy Harwood, that I've ever had on this game to a release clause I couldn't negotiate out of, and fear that will happen again to my other fullback, Luciano Herrera. I managed to sneak into 4th last season, so I have Champions League football, but have still no money whatsoever from the board, and so I've had to raise it myself. Is there any way to improve the situation, or do I just have to build up slowly? Well, Car Guy, I feel like I can start helping you with this before we even get into the actual save, because blaming your board here, that's just not the right move. You see, the clubs that you are attempting to compete with, they are just making a lot more money than you. That's why your board is not giving you more money, because that money doesn't exist. And if they gave it to you and you didn't do particularly well with it, I'm not saying that you wouldn't do particularly well with it, but if you didn't, you'd turn into Leeds and you would have lived the dream for a little while, and then all of a sudden the whole club goes bankrupt. The club infrastructure of a team like Juventus or Inter or AC Milan, they have huge stadiums, massive merch sales, and all the other things that just help generate a lot more passive income in the game than you have, because you're Südtirol. So the only way you're going to be able to make money and gain money against those teams is by selling players. So those release clauses might have been a bit of a blessing in disguise. But let's get into the save. We're in 2030, start of the season in 2030. You've taken a team that was in the 2nd division, kind of higher part of the 2nd division, gotten them promoted, and fairly steadily progressed. 15th, 7th, 5th, 6th, 4th. But it's clear over the past 4 seasons, you've gotten stuck in neutral, and exactly where you were saying you got stuck, right outside of those big couple of teams. And if we look at last season, the gap is pretty significant. You finished ahead of Inter, but you're still 13 points off the top of the league, which was actually won by Fiorentina, so congrats to them. You finished ahead of Inter and Juventus, though, which is impressive. But I'll keep it a stack with you. You're in my favorite part of a football manager save. Your team is clearly good enough that you're going to be able to play in European competitions as long as you don't mess stuff up, and you are hunting for the next crop of Wonderkids that are going to be able to take you all the way. What's standing in your way is that your club is not big enough and not financially healthy enough to be able to hang on to those types of players. Because one of the most important things to hang on to those types of players is not having release clauses in their contract. Now, fortunately for you, I've put together a view of every type of release clause you can have in the game, and based off my assessment of everything, you only have one release clause on your entire team. So you're kind of already past that moment. Your team's reputation is already at 4 stars. You're competing in the Champions League this year. As long as you don't lose that, you're going to be okay. I understand the fact that losing Andy Harwood's a real kick in the teeth. This guy is a god. He is an incredible player, and you only sold him for $72 million. And in a perfect world, you would have been able to sell him for like $130. But what you need to look at it as is you made a profit of $60 million. This was unavoidable. You need to focus on controlling the things you can control and, not being bothered by the things you can't control. He played very well with you for a couple of years. You made $60 million off of him, and you are going to be able to hang on to the next Andy Harwood because of the fact that he went away now. But you have no other release clauses on your team. And let's be honest, looking at Luciano Herrera, if you get $106 million for him because he also has a release clause that you can't get removed, that is a great deal because your actual balance is only $37 million. Your transfer budget is $48 million. You'd have 100% of transfer revenue retention, which is awesome. But you need to be selling guys for buckets of money. You can create a financial superpower of a team if you keep signing guys like Andy Harwood for $12 million and selling them for $100. Which is apparently now where the release clauses are going to be at. If you tried to renegotiate his contract, but every time he would keep that release clause where it was, you literally did everything possible that you could do. But now it's time for straight up comparisons, because I also feel like where you've been at for a couple of seasons, you're probably not turning over your team as much as you should in order to try to get better. Let's look at your star left wing, Ez Abdi. Definitely a very good player, very sound, pretty good athlete, pretty good ball carrier. Let's compare him to the teams that you're going up against, shall we? AC Milan's been finishing ahead of you for a lot of the season. Well, they're running out a guy that has literally 20 agility. This guy is significantly better than the winger that you're running out right now. And the other winger is Rafael Leao, who you know is even better than that. Their midfield is Frank Kessie, who is a fantastic player, and Gavi, who's always going to be a fantastic player. And if you go by a player-by-player comparison of your players and their players, which you can do using the comparison tool, like let's say you wanted to compare him to Youssoufa Moukoko because Youssoufa Moukoko is your striker and Charles de Ketelaere is their striker, you can see that even though Youssoufa Moukoko is like your superstar, he's not giving you an advantage over what AC Milan's got right now. And having guys like 29-year-old Albert Grönbeck in the starting lineup, it doesn't match up well with Frank Kessie or Gavi or that quality of player. So if I got $60 million for this guy, I'd sell him. I'd sell him right now. And you're not fully off this because you have gone out and acquired talented young players. I can see that that is something that you are paying attention to. That's something you're trying to do, like Ignacio Rojas, this guy Emilio Caccioni. This was an excellent signing you got this year. This guy you signed for like $37 million. You could probably flip him for $100 million right now. I mean, like in January, but you get the point. Your team is not at a level where you have a collection of some of the best Wonderkids in the world. You have some very good young players. And until you get to a point where you have a collection of some of the best Wonderkids in the world, you need to make sure that everybody's on the chopping block. It's economics, and it's the way you're going to make up that financial deficit that you're complaining about, you know, at the start of this. Your scouting is not bad. I've thumbed through it. You've got these specific ongoing assignments that you've assigned specific scouts to. I would say that maybe 2 stars is a little high. I would go down to probably 1.5 if you're looking for Wonderkids, and I would also take the age up to 22 or 23. But I would put more scouts in kind of regional Wonderkid searches outside of specific country searches. Also, scouting just the UK and Ireland scouting region, that's one of the least valuable regions to be scouting in the entire world because English Wonderkids are almost always dominated by the unusually large concentration of very big, financially strong clubs from that region. And even if they don't own those Wonderkids, they drive up the price and the wage of those Wonderkids. Even Andy Harwood, the Englishman that you signed, you got from the Nordsjælland Academy, right? You didn't get him from your England scouting. But those are just little nitpicky things. You are scouting well. Make sure you are scouting youth national teams and the Wonderkid top 50 that pops into your inbox every year. That will help you find a lot of great Wonderkids as well. But your thing, you gotta sell guys. You gotta be okay with selling guys. Because if you sell a guy for $100 million and you sign 3 or 4 Wonderkids for 15 to 20 million, you're going to start turning a massive profit that's going to make up that financial deficit and allow you to build a team of some of the best Wonderkids in the world. And once you have those guys that are irreplaceable, like Andy Harwood, and they're not asking for release clauses anymore, that's when you're able to start competing for league titles and Champions Leagues, at least on a regular basis. Next! We have in_decline_ managing Venlo! Good day, Mr. Zealand. I started this save with my local club, who are at the bottom of the KKD, the second division of Dutch football, at the time I decided to start the save. I used a 24-25 database for this save. We have some immediate success gaining promotion in the first season and avoiding relegation in the second by finishing 9th. In my 5th season, we finished 2nd and won the KNVB Becker. We're getting to a but or however at some point, and there it is. However, I don't think my team is getting any better anymore. I struggle to find any young players who are willing to play for my club because my reputation isn't growing enough. I want to go further in Europe, but I can't put together a competitive enough team to challenge foreign clubs. I hope you are able to provide me with some help. My best regards, Decline. Well, thank you for sending your best regards. So what's the first thing we do? We take a look at the club history. Got promoted, and now for the last couple of seasons have bounced around the same European spots. I do not know what's happened to your Eredivisie, but this is a little topsy-turvy. We've got PSV Zwolle, who is top of the league, then Utrecht is in 3rd. PSV's in 6th, AZ's in 5th, Feyenoord's in 4th, Ajax is still hanging out down in 8th. So you got a weird season going on right now. This is your first ever Champions League appearance and you've lost 2 of your first 3 matches. Okay, you lost at home against Real Madrid, and you lost away against Celtic. What about other European competitions? Conference League, you lost to Sevilla in the quarterfinals. Europa League, when you made it a couple of years ago, you got to the round of 16 and lost to Aston Villa. No shame in that. I mean, the reputation of your club is 3.5 stars. What Wonderkids are you trying to sign that don't want to come play for a team that's got 3.5 stars and is playing in the Champions League? To be honest, I just don't believe you. I just don't think you're finding the right Wonderkids. And I'll say, I see this a lot. There are two types of Wonderkids. There are the ones with a golden spoon in their mouth, and there are the ones that don't have the golden spoon in their mouth. I want to be clear. The ones you're looking for are the ones without the golden spoon in their mouth. If you are talking about Wonderkids that are already playing in a top 6 league, I'm going to include Portugal in that. Now, I'm not talking about the second division in France or Portugal or Germany or Italy. Wonderkids that are already on teams in those top 6 leagues, those are not the ones you're looking for. The ones you're looking for are in the Croatian league, the Serbian league, the Bosnian league. They're in the 3rd division of France. They're playing in North African leagues. They're playing in South American leagues. And not even for the biggest clubs in Brazil, because then they're going to be charging you that release clause of, 25, 30 million, which you can't afford. Your club reputation is not the problem here. Your problem is the types of players that you are looking to sign. Your second problem is that you do not have a lot of money. Compared to the first save we were looking at, you have a much bigger financial limitation than the clubs that you are attempting to compete with. And because of the league that you're playing in and the burgeoning reputation that you have as a club, the value of your players is below what you would expect to get. For example, if this guy was on Tottenham Hotspur, he'd be worth somewhere between 60 to 90 million, but because he's on your team, he's worth 16 to 19. But then you have a guy like Martin Swiderski, who's valued at 24 to 30 million, and that would be an entirely reasonable sale. You need to try and move guys like this, because having a starting transfer budget of 4.98 million with a 60% transfer revenue retention, I mean, you're asking like how you're going to be able to compete in Champions Leagues and stuff. That's just not enough money. Even to sign the non-golden spoon in the mouth Wonderkids, you need to be able to go to Argentina and spend $7 million a couple of times. Right, you need to be able to go to these 2nd and 3rd division teams that are going to ask for $10, $15 million and make that signing. You saw in the first save somebody like Andy Harwood from Nordsjælland. $12 million is an amazing investment. You don't have that right now. You need to be able to pay that money to get those types of guys. And you do that by selling guys for good value. And good value isn't what they'd be worth if they were on the biggest team in the world. Good value is what they do for you relative to how much money they'd be able to get you. Because if you make a sale for 25 million, I guarantee you go to the board and ask them to up their transfer revenue retention, they're going to agree with you, because you're going to be sitting on top of a pile of nearly $50 million with a wage budget under $15 million a year. Now, you got your Wonderkid scouting ready to rock and roll, but I'm not going to be able to judge your ability to acquire those Wonderkids yet until you get your money figured out. So focus on that money situation. You are already doing a very good job given the amount of money that you are spending on players. So much of this series is just making sure you're focused on the right thing here. Next, we've got JJ16240 managing Manchester City.
How dare you! Conquering with the evil empire! You should be banished from Football Manager! This is an outrage! You're managing them! The great them! How dare you! I will not...
We're here to help. We're here to help. Currently, despite being very successful in my runs, I am starting to struggle with... Very successful in your run. Oh, that's not surprising. I am starting to struggle with understanding the game and trying to figure out how to improve getting my striker, Erling Haaland, to land the ball into the net, as he didn't have the best of seasons at first. I tried switching around multiple tactics, and I'm unsure of what's next, and if my future players are just the correct move for the save. So we have submitted to Save Your Saves. Erling Haaland isn't scoring enough goals. Can you help? We will try. But then I load into the save file, and it's just a save where the guy's managing Via Valencia in the 3rd division of Portugal. It looks like our boy Justin Ash here has undertaken a journeyman and has just sent me the wrong save. But that is not going to stop me from trying to help you, because that's what we're doing here. If Erling Haaland is not scoring a lot of goals, there's two things you need to look at. One, how much XG is Erling Haaland getting? If he's getting a ton of XG and he's not scoring a lot, then your tactic's working fine. He's just in poor form. Rotate him out for a match or two. He'll get it back. It doesn't matter if you have a player that has literally all 20s in every attribute in the game. They will go in and out of form. for that type of player to be whether they score 5 goals or 1, but there is a certain variety and variability, especially depending on their hidden attributes, that determines how well they're going to be able to play and maintain their form. If he is not creating a lot of XG, then it is a tactical problem that you need to address. Erling Haaland is not the type of guy that needs to be involved in the build-up play at all. If you don't have him on advanced forward or poacher, you are doing something horribly wrong. One issue that you can be creating, especially when you're a team like Manchester City, is that you have too many people on attack that are running into the box and not enough people that are set up to be able to make deliveries. All you need to do is study a lot of the tactics that came from the Football Manager World Cup to know that having a lot of support roles in a tactic doesn't mean that it's not super attacking and aggressive. If you have a player with attack on in the mentality that is not like a fullback or a center back on libero, they're probably going to end up in the box if you maintain possession for a little bit, and that means there's not as many people there to provide that kind of service, that kind of that kind of layered attack that you need. Erling Haaland's really the only attack that you need. So a playmaker behind him and a couple of players on the wing that are able to play a ball into Erling Haaland should be enough to provide him the service to where he's devastated. Oh yeah, also turn on pass into space. If you don't have that on and you have Erling Haaland, you've committed a crime against Football Manager. If you feel like that doesn't help, feel free to send me the updated save file from your journeyman. Congrats on making it to Man City from the 3rd tier of Portugal though. Next! We have MXGGX79. I have started to play FM on console when it came out first because the PC version was always a bit too much for me. I fell hard for FM and decided to move on from the arcadey type of the console version. Well, I have some great news for you. FM25 is about to slap you across the face. So now I have my first proper PC save going in FM24. I managed to win the Prim now 3 times in a row. What are you doing here? But it feels like I'm not progressing anymore rather than losing strength slowly. The furthest I've gotten in Europe was the Champions League semis last season with Barca beating me. I would love to be able to compete for Europe, but that's not happening right now. This is a very specific type of issue, but I'm actually glad that I get to talk about it based off this save. Welcome to Football Manager on PC. All of your training on console looks like it's prepared you very well. Let's look at your last 3 seasons. So you dropped 90 points, then 90 points, then 82 points, so I understand why you feel like you might be regressing a little bit. And I think I have a feeling I know why you're regressing a little bit. I don't think that you are prepared for Football Manager Wonderkids. Like, the farther you get into this save, I feel like you're not really ready for Wonderkid hunting. This isn't the point that I was going to get into when I initially saw this, but your team, your starting 11, is made up of the classic kinds of Wonderkids that you're able to sign at the start of a save, like real Wonderkids. You know, I'm a real boy, not Pinocchio's. You've got Pape Matar, you've got Aurelien Chouameni, you've got Florian Wirtz, you've got Evan Ferguson, you've got Karim Konate, but these guys are real. These guys are people you know in real life have high potential, and you went out and you were able to grab them. You know, Gyökeres, Xerxes, Sverri Halseth Nippon, the best hidden wonder kid in the game. You've gone and grabbed him as well. You might be feeling like your team is regressing because you're kind of stagnating. There's a new generation of 19 and under wonder kids out there, and you only seem to have been able to find kind of one of them so far. And if you are a team that's winning the Premier League, you should be signing 6 foreign under 21 players every single year. You get 6 spots, 6 of them. You got to use every single one every year because you are richer than Croesus. You should be asking for more transfer budget instantly. You should be buying 6 under 21 foreign wonder kids every single year. Not all of them will pan out, but it's likely you'll be able to make money off all of them because the reputation of your club and your league is so incredibly high that people will pay a premium to sign players from your squad. I know this because I've been in this exact position. I managed Tottenham to a Champions League and Premier League win. Obviously, you haven't been able to get the Champions League yet. Once you are at that level, you're basically the biggest club in the world, and people are going to trip over themselves to spend $75 million to get your backup players. Which, again, makes it very economically viable for you to buy 6 under 21 foreign wonder kids every single freaking year. But to the point that I actually wanted to talk about, the difference between cups in the league is that in the league, you can just plug and play the same tactic over and over and over and over again. Where in cups, the matchup matters a lot more. Let me show you something. This is something that I don't think I've ever done before, but I think will help you kind of conceptualize where you're misfiring. Your matchups against the big clubs in England. So obviously you've had great success running it up against teams like Ipswich and Leeds and Leicester, right? Those types of teams that you come up against that you're able to just kind of beat up on. Norwich and Nottingham Forest, you dropped a point. Southampton, West Ham, Wolves. Your tactic and the way your team is playing and your talent level is very good at getting consistent results against the average Premier League team, which is very important. It's why you've won the league 3 straight times, and nobody can take that away from you. But your results against Arsenal in the league, you split the points. There's no blowout here. There's no incredible dominance. Against Chelsea, you played one match where you didn't score. You got 4 points against Chelsea. Against Liverpool, you only got 1 point all season. Against Man City, you split the points. Against Manchester United, you split the points. Against Newcastle, you split the points. Are you seeing a trend here? There isn't a big 6 team in England, even a big 7 team, including Newcastle, that you were able to beat both times that you played them in the league. And if you think about it, these Champions League knockout matches, that's who you're going up against. You're playing Liverpool. You're playing Manchester City. And if you can't beat them on aggregate in the league, you're not going to be able to beat them on aggregate in the Champions League. So what you're running into is a tactic that over the course of an entire season, like a tactic and a philosophy of play, you can just plug in and play and you will be dominant and you will be able to stomp these teams that are a little more parked in. But when you're playing teams that are your equal, you're actually not that dominant. Like you're doing well enough to win the league. But when we're talking about the Champions League, you need to be able to go out and actually beat a team like Liverpool, like really beat them. Not squeak a result and they squeak a result against you and you kind of go back and forth that way. Now, I love this tactic. The 4-2-2, it's wild, it's crazy, it's very hard to defend. And it's clearly become very effective for you when it comes to breaking down those lower set teams. But I think against the best teams, you are allowing just a little bit too much pressure against your back line. You've got a pretty serious space, high press, and then standard back line. I would at least try this. There's no reason with intelligent teams to not have get stuck in. You're one of the best teams in the world. You're going to be able to do that in every match. You're going to be fine. And against those good teams, countering is going to be more important. When you're playing teams that assume you're way better than them, they're not going to give you as many opportunities to counter. So having it off allows you to take a more methodical approach that will allow you to break down these bad teams. When you are playing teams that are really trying to send it against you, having counter on is very important because it allows you to take more advantage of the fact that they have come out to try and score against you. They've opened up their formation as much as they have. And I also think against these types of teams that might leave more of an opening for you, having a higher tempo could be very useful as well. The standard tempo is fine and it allows you to, again, draw teams out that are a little more parked in. Higher tempo is going to allow you to take advantage of spaces quicker and force the ball down the field a little quicker. But honestly, you might be in need of a tactic change where you play this against all the teams you're expected to beat comfortably, but you find something a little more good at defending the wings. I'll start there. If you want to maintain this same style, what you could do is move this guy to the middle and then you drop somebody down as a center back and then move the wing backs up. And now you've got a back 5 looking tactic that is a little more solid. It's able to catch a little bit more pressure, but you're still able to play players in very similar positions to ones they're familiar with. I'm not asking you to all of a sudden have a couple of guys that can play on the wing so you can go into 4-3-3. But your issue is matchups against the best teams in the world. You haven't taken that final step to being the dominant best team in the world. It's a tough step to take. But you need to be farming Wonderkids, the best Wonderkids in the world anywhere you can find, no matter the price. And you need to be able to match up better against these great teams. Because right now, even though those great teams are dropping more points against everybody else, you're struggling to get all the points off them. Next, we have Cakes and Bros. The team is in a lot of debt, and it feels like I can't get the players that I would be able to sell to make the debt go away. Just go up to the top league and I'm struggling to compete. All right, Cakes and Bros. This is an old school save your saves. So we are in 2026. Just got promoted from the Challenger Pro League to the Jupiler Pro League with Royal Francs Barons. And I'm just going to say, you're not struggling to compete. I'm going to reframe this for you. You're 9th out of 16 teams. You have the second worst wage budget by a significant margin in the league. You're not doing poorly. But your financial situation is definitely not very good. Your balance is over $7 million in the red. And your most valuable players, they aren't that valuable. And of course, there's some of the best players on your team, except for this guy that you've kind of loaned out. I guess you were trying to sell him. It looks like an asking price has been set. So there is one solution. How do you get players when you can't afford them? I'll give you a hint. you gotta have some loans. If you don't have loans, you're gonna be broke and be here again. Loans, yeah, you gotta have some loans. You don't have loans, you're gonna be broke and be here again. So I've looked up your league rules. According to this, it seems like you were allowed to have 9 players loaned in a season, 6 foreign players, and 3 players from domestic clubs, which means you should be getting close to that every year. You've loaned in a few players already, but these players you're paying the majority of their contract, which is, again, not the point, right? We're looking for players that you can loan in for free because your payroll budget is already pushing up against it. But the longer that you are able to maintain a mid-table presence in the Jupiler Pro League, the better things will be. I'm guessing coming into this season, because of your recent promotion, your projections are based off the fact that you are almost sure to go down. You are by far supposed to be the worst team in this league. So sustaining and surviving in the top league is going to increase your projections. It's going to increase the amount of passive income that you make as a club. And you are right that you are not at a stage where you're able to sign players that you can flip for profit. You're at a stage where you need to get your club into Europe for the first time. And to do that, you need to sign free players and loans. But you can get there. Don't be scared by this insecure word. If you're not insecure financially, you're not trying.
That's not true. Please just don't. Please don't actually do that.
But I hope that your saves are now saved. If you want to watch me save more saves, then you can check out this video. If not, I'm sure I'll be on stream playing Football Manager or Crusader Kings or Rust or something. Probably Football Manager. I started a new save in Brazil, and it's awesome. Bye, guys.